Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online and TV 15 viewers, radio listeners via Tel TV Plus, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice, Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
A pleasant good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, Team CoM, and those tuned in online via radio, and a special good morning to all senior citizens. This morning, I am here to share some information and updates regarding the Ministry of Justice. Firstly, I wish if we could just take a moment of silence for the untimely loss of Mr. Kastner L'Esperance and the little Miss Nia Peterson. Thank you. The police department and the press have provided details regarding the tragic accident. As such, there is no need for me to share such at this time. I do, however, on behalf of the Ministry of Justice and myself, extend condolences to the family and loved ones who are affected by this sudden departure of these two souls. I am also wishing the mother, Ms. Peterson, who is still in intensive care, strength and hoping that she will recover. My prayers are with her and all who are left to mourn and hold on to the memories that they have made with these two souls. May their souls rest in eternal peace. We are asking, please, drivers, riders, use the road safely for your safety and well-being and that of others. The worrisome situation regarding the Maduro children and what the community is feeling has been received some time ago. Although it may appear as though no attention is being given to the matter, please be advised that the Ministry of Justice, VSA, ECYS, and Prime Minister Jacobs have been duly involved in finding a solution for this stringent situation. At the beginning of this year, I contacted Ministers of Justice and Social Affairs of Curaçao, Aruba, and the Netherlands to request their assistance in providing the multidisciplinary care and guidance that these children are in need of. Curaçao and Aruba both responded and indicated that they themselves are dealing with similar matters and that they have quite a list of their own facilities needing to have intake. As such, they were not able to assist us. Recently, I again sent a second letter to the Netherlands seeking their assistance in the matter, considering that we do not have what is deemed to be the necessary and proper facility and expertise to provide the adequate care and guidance these children are in need of. So it's not that the government has turned a deaf ear on the matter, but that there are a lot of technical steps required to be able to provide them with the help that the children need. As such, we would like to extend our assurance that we are busy with the matter. The opening of a foster home. The month of May is recognized as Foster Care Month. For that entire month, the Foundation Judicial Institute St. Martin, SCIS, diligently worked in recruiting foster parents, mentors, food, and monetary donations in a collective effort to give support to those children who are in need while providing a safe and stable home. This past Friday, June 10th, 2022, we commemorated the opening of the SCIS foster care home, to which many had a helping hand in the fulfillment of this initiative. I would like to take this time to once again recognize all those that have supported this great and much needed addition to our community. Mrs. Cynthia Philmon Clark, the director of SCIS, and staff, with special recognition to project coordinator Ms. Meredith Concencion, Dr. Judith Arndell, and staff, Ms. Maki Brooks, and staff at St. Martin Development Fund, my Chief of Staff, Mr. Tyrone Yates, and Senior Legal Policy Advisor, Ms. Geertje van Haperen, my colleague Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Arian, and his support staff, and the many others who contributed in one way or other to be able to bring this much-needed home to be open for those who need it most. I am once again hereby expressing my profound gratitude to those who are actively involved in foster care. You are volunteer You volunteer to be that village, that support system for our children, those mentors, those foster parents, and the staff of foster homes. Your dedication and sacrifices and hard work do not go unnoticed. We continue to be aware of you, and we are grateful for your heartfelt giving of yourself in service of others. Thank you very much. The Ministry of Justice acknowledges the growing need for foster care facilities and foster homes on the island. In collaboration with SCIS, we continue to work towards raising awareness, recruitment of foster parents and mentors, and we are looking for the possibilities of additional facilities. This is the beginning, and as we continue to identify the need, we will do more to be able to bring forth these joyous occasions where we can celebrate that proper sheltering, home, and care are being provided for our children who are in need of it. After much deliberation, labor unions ABVO, NAPB, and WICSU PSU signed an agreement on yesterday, June 14, 2022, with my person as Minister of Justice on the legal position regulation for police law enforcement St. Martin. This included CAPSM, national detectives, immigration, customs, court of guardianship, and prison personnel, and further cooperation on personnel legal position issues. So we signed a covenant yesterday agreement to be able to recognize all the efforts that we are doing for personnel matters, as I mentioned the names above. The regulation will now follow the necessary legislative trajectory for formal approval by the Council of Ministers. Then the content of the regulations will be reviewed by legal and legislative departments and then submitted to the Committee of Civil Servants Union, or CCSU, and on to the Council of Advice. I take this time to express my profound thanks to our Acting Secretary General, Ligia Stella, and our interim or our consultant and change manager, Mr. Alvin Dahl. Both served as key players in the ministry arriving at this milestone as we work diligently with the unions to have these personnel matters regulated. We are making great strides. This achievement can be classified as phase 2 of regulating the ministry personnel affairs, and now we are on to the next milestone, all in the interest of those who have dedicated their lives to serve and protect St. Martin. The final approval of the legal position regulation for law enforcement St. Martin by the Council of Ministers will make it possible for police personnel as well as other departments within the ministry, but in particular police personnel, to be reimbursed for salary differences that existed since the salary of police personnel were not adjusted in 2010. These are aspects that the covenant carries, as well as the Expositsi. In the meantime, police personnel, including both police officers and support staff, will be placed in their new functions as described and classified in the function book. As such, a huge thank you goes out to the staff of the ministry for your patience. The unions will be kept updated throughout the legislative process and on the legal placements that will take place. A press statement will be shared with the media within short, so you will have even more details about what transpired, what's included in the covenant. Again, I want to say a special thank you to the unions. We spent a couple of hours, a few Saturdays, and we have made it here. I think that we had a rough start, but it is not where you begin, but where you end, and we're still not finished. But I'm truly grateful for the progress we have made as a team and the harmony that we have now developed, and our working relationship is a positive one. And I just want to say congratulations to everyone that this affects. We are, like I said, making positive strides. We are almost there. And I'm extremely happy about this. So congratulations to all. Relaika, that's all that I have for this morning, even though I told the Prime Minister I didn't have opening statements. Thanks.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, Prime Minister, Minister of Justice, members of the media, CoM staff, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. Today I have the following updates on behalf of the Ministry of Romi. Yesterday I had a site visit at the Blue Mountain Estate, where standalone homes are being built by the St. Martin Housing Development Foundation. The standalone project, which is between Defiance and Oyster Bay, consists of 12 three-bedroom units. Currently, they are in phase 1 of this project, and I must say that based on from when they started in March to now, I believe that the project is progressing very well. Kudos to the team that is busy with that project. I look forward to having a follow-up visit when the project is more in the final stages. I also had the opportunity to visit the current 64 apartments that are being renovated under the emergency repair project in Belvedere. They're currently in the process of installing the windows and doors and installations, and also the kitchens of some of the units, which will commence in the coming week. I must say that this has been long awaited, especially after the passing of Hurricane Irma. One would say that this is this is the biggest improvement and repair work that has ever taken place in Belvedere. I also had a long discussion with the director with respect to the other structure, which is in a very deplorable state as well. And she indicated the plan forward, how they plan to address it. And I was very happy to hear that as well. Also, there are several individuals that complain with the regular renovations and the regular issues that they face due to lack of maintenance for all the years. Based on me also speaking to certain individuals that live in the area of Belvedere specifically, most of those points are being addressed. So I'm happy to hear that. And I must say that we are actually going in the right direction. And I look forward to the towers coming to completion so that persons that are displaced or on the waiting list can be stationed there and be given the opportunity to live at peace again in a good environment. Yesterday, I also had a tour with the steering committee, representatives of the World Bank, my colleague Prime Minister, and other stakeholders of the wastewater treatment plant at 8 Elledge Road, together with those representatives from the NRPB as well. During the tour, which was led by the Department of Infrastructure Management personnel, Mr. Ben, who gave a detailed presentation on the functioning of the entire wastewater treatment plant, also gave some history as to where we were and where we're at today. And I must say that we have made some serious strides as a country in terms of the improvement where that is concerned. The current capacity of the plant, which deals with about 40%, which is at 40% the capacity, so to speak. So one of the main goals of the ministry is to get more connections and have that flowing so that the plant can be optimized for the proper use. As I mentioned, also was given a briefing on different areas that are not connected and also the way forward and certain plans on how we can connect those as soon as possible. So that is indeed one of our priorities as a ministry, to connect as much homes as possible. I would like to address a statement that was published in the newspaper about the permits department. In the Daily Herald publication on June 13th, 2022, on the front page and on the headline and on the website, it states, "No application for civil works permit published in over a year." An article headline, as it is written above, a reader can think that the staff of the Ministry of ROMI is not doing their job, and in particular, the staff responsible for compiling the information for publications. I take this opportunity to set the record straight with the public and the hardworking staff of the ministry. All approved permits requests, building hindrance, and civil works activities are published as required by law. Additionally, applications for civil works permit are not required to be published. In 2022, the recent publication of approved permits requests that took place based on the civil works permit on February 4th, the 3rd edition of the Gazette, on February 5th, the 5th edition of the Gazette, on April 1st, the 7th edition of the National Gazette, on May 27th, the 11th edition of the National Gazette. For the above data that is derived in a public statement by the Daily Herald newspaper on its front page on Monday, June 13th, is false, and that information, therefore, can be misleading to the public. For those that are inquiring, I can show all the different dates that they were published. I must say that statements like these are very unfortunate because it creates the impression, again, as I mentioned, that the staff were not doing the work, and I could not address it for that simple fact. Relika, I think that would be all for now, and I look forward to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, Silvera Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relika. Good morning. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning to you, Relika, and the rest of the DCOM team here present, as well as those remotely. Good morning to the press, and of course, good morning, people of St. Martin. I would like to take this time to add my condolences to the families of and friends, as well as colleagues of the persons who lost their lives tragically on Monday. It is, of course, always sad news. And, you know, just like when you see the tragic incidents happening around the world, people are like, how many more times do we have to come on here and say, we're sorry, we're praying for you? It's empty sometimes. It feels like it doesn't make a difference. What are we doing to make these things less likely? So I'd like to add, of course, my prayers and wishes for recovery for the mother. It is going to be a very difficult road ahead, but of course, I'm praying that she will get the support that she needs moving forward, and I wish her full recovery as well. And add, as my colleague minister did, to our road users. It is up to us, not just how we use the road, but how we behave, how we treat each other, the impatience with which we treat each other on a daily basis. It's a reflection of the country. So I'm asking the general public of St. Martin, let us be who we say we are. We are the friendly island. That means also that we should be conscious of how our actions can affect others. Use the roads, not just for yourself, but for others. The roads are not wide, they're not big. We are a small island. It's difficult to expand the roads. There's not many sidewalks. So please, there's a slogan out there on the cars in terms of, you know, you look out for bikers as well. A lot of people are getting healthy. They're walking the streets, they're cycling. So the life you save may be your own as well as that of a loved one. So I'm asking you all of us collectively, and of course to recognize and respect emergency services, because I also see sometimes that the cars do not pull aside when these things happen, which could also cause accidents. The lives they're trying to save could also be your loved ones. So I'm asking for the general population for us to raise our level of awareness of this situation to avoid further loss of life, and as well as in general, the way we take care of our island, tossing garbage outside. The Ministry of Rummy government pays quite well for garbage to be picked up, for roadside cleaning to be done. And I think the pervasive attitude is that, oh, someone is going to pick it up anyway. That is not what the roadside cleaning is about, and I'm sure the minister can corroborate. They're to cut back grass and brush, etc. So we, as a people, need to take more pride in the way we are handling waste on the island. We can do all the studies we want. Place bins are there. Keep a recyclable bag in your car to be able to take care of your trash. And let's keep St. Martin clean, not just for ourselves, but for future generations and for our visitors as well. We, on Monday, celebrated Flag Day, our 37th anniversary of St. Martin National Flag Day, on the anniversary of the creation of our flag and ratification by governments in 1985. There was a very heartwarming celebration, and I must say that it warmed the heart of many. I saw the Facebook likes as well when we were streaming live. Thank you, a national celebration which falls under the Ministry of General Affairs. But as you know, all our celebrations are budgeted and executed by the Culture Department. It requires a lot of collaboration and coordination, and I want to take the time here this morning to thank the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth of Sport, Dr. Anders Samuel, and the Culture Department head, Clara Reyes, and her team for a job well done in the execution, especially in including the schools within the Phillipsburg area. So thank you to the schools, your management staff and teachers, as well as parents and students who participated in this very, very nation-building, national pride feeling. All of us felt it who were there, and I'm hoping that this can transcend on a daily basis as well. that we feel that pride for St. Martin, which segues perfectly from what I was just saying. I'd also want to thank the Governor Youth Award winners, Mr. Ray Angel, as well as Faith, for the excellent job they did in hosting the program, as well as all performers who made it very special indeed. On June 20th or 19th, I must say, the meetings start on the 20th, but on June 19th, I traveled together with the Minister of Finance and the team to attend a ministerial conference in Aruba with the State Secretary and the Prime Ministers and staff and their support of Aruba and Curacao. This is for us to have further discussions on the way forward with the kingdom, the Coho Kingdom law, after having reviewed the questions and concerns of the parliaments of the three islands and the Netherlands. The parliamentarians expect that their concerns will be addressed and to some extent, and it is vital for the process to continue. Pre-discussions were held in Curacao last month by the technical teams in preparation for these meetings, and we are now all ready to move forward on the ministerial level to address the concerns that have been brought forward and decide on how we can move forward with this piece of legislation. So I look forward to that meeting next week. On Thursday, June 10th, I had a courtesy visit from the PAHO, Pan American Health Organization, World Health Organization, that was tasked with the 11th EDFB Envelope Shelters Project. The project aims to construct and outfit 2 smart, multi-purpose shelters here on the island in South Reward and Hope Estate. The projects will additionally focus on awareness, capacity building, as well as ensuring that emergency response and disaster preparedness is improved. During the visit, I was able to meet with the organization and thank them for what they have done thus far, as well as reaffirm St. Martin's commitment and collaboration to make sure that this project is realized. They're expected to start construction later this year. As Minister Doran mentioned, the steering committee of the trust fund is having its meetings this week. As such, there's a very full agenda, and it included, as he mentioned, a tour. He didn't mention that he actually opened the meetings on my behalf, as I was at the Caribavia opening conference on behalf of the Ministry of TEAT. So the Minister of Vromi, Deputy Prime Minister, opened the steering committee meetings. The meetings will continue until tomorrow, and we look forward to the commitments that will come out of that. In the high-level meeting later today, St. Martin will be signing the Fostering Resilient Learning Project grant agreement. So the agreement to move forward to finance the reconstruction of the Sister Marie Laurent School, the Charles Leopold Bell School, and the Phillipsburg Jubilee Library, as well as embedding the digital programs within the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport to improve the provision of education, particularly for students with special behavioral and learning needs. So in collaboration with the Ministry of ECYS, preparatory work for this has already started, which included important stakeholder consultation sessions. During the steering committee meetings and agenda, we will also interact with entrepreneurs who have been beneficiaries of the ESP, the Enterprise Support Project, which gives grants and loans to persons to be able to own their own building, their own businesses, as well as upgrade their current businesses, which is still ongoing and for which I encourage persons with a dream to be an entrepreneur to make use of. We will also visit the 6 multi-story apartment buildings currently under renovation at the Belvedere St. Martin Housing Foundation, Development Foundation, and they are part of the Emergency Recovery Project 1. Yesterday, I was also able to have a meeting with the members of Parliament on the conditions, as we have been in continued negotiations with the Dutch government regarding the removal of 12.5%. St. Martin still has some concerns, and so the negotiations will continue. We have found alternatives for the immediate relief of our civil servants, which I am expecting that many will see the effect of today. The meeting was a closed-door one, and there will be follow-up meetings again before this agenda point will be put on the Kingdom Council of Ministers for decision-making. I'd also like to offer some clarity on questions asked of the Minister of Finance over the last couple of weeks regarding the 25% cut of political authorities on St. Martin. On the payroll for the political authorities, 15% is taken from the salaries, which was defined within the law, the vacation pay, cash removal, which amounted to some 10%, and there were other provisions made to be removed. 6% is also withheld, and this will not be returned as with the other civil servants. So based on the fact that 2020 was a half year, and for the record, 10% was cut from April of 2020, even before the laws, a discussion on the law started in July. In 2020, we made this 10% cut, and therefore, with the law going into place, 5.5% more was paid in 2020 from political authorities than was required. In the following year, the adjustment, it has now been calculated, was not made for the full year based on the 2020 being a half year. That adjustment was not made. However, further calculations have shown that actually more than the 25% has been saved in terms of the political authorities' budget for 2021 and moving forward. The amendment of the law for the wachtgeld, as you know it, was a savings of some 18.5% as well. So we have to have further deliberations, and the calculations have to be made in terms of how much more was paid, and if necessary, adjustments to the law will be made so that those can be counted along as well. So for 2021, what came from the actual salaries was only 21%. And as I mentioned before, there was an overpayment in 2020 or overcut in 2020 of some 5.5%. So actually it could balance out if you look at it that way in terms of what was taken out too much in 2020 and the 4% that wasn't taken out in 2021. That would balance out there, and we still have the balance of 2022 to rectify any other discrepancies, also taking into account again that 18.5% cut was made to the budget of political authorities since 2020. I think I'll leave it there to give I do have a couple of other things, but I'll leave it there for the members of the press to be able to ask their questions. Thank you, Relaika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. At this time, I would like to re-invite the Honorable Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Egbert Dran, to address you. Minister Dran.
Thank you once again for the opportunity, Relaika. I had one extra point to add, but somehow I missed it. This point has nothing to do with the Ministry of Rummy, but everything to do with the people of St. Martin. Over the last couple of years, especially from the first time I took office as a member of parliament, I've been an advocate for price control and cost of bread and the cost of living, because these are things that directly affect our people. There was even a motion passed to that effect, which was passed unanimously, that I submitted to Parliament. I believe it was late 2018, early 2019. Today, I am happy to see, and also I had a discussion with the Acting Minister of TIAT, Minister Otley, that they have busy now in the process to have the basket of goods expanded. This has not taken place since 2008. And I believe that this is a great stride, and it shows the seriousness of this government to address the needs of the people of St. Martin. And I know that one of the main things, sometimes you're in the supermarket and you see that persons have to literally carry back things because they're not able to afford it. So I'm glad to see things like this. I hope that it's blown up in every media outlet, so to let the people know that these things are being addressed. I just wanted to add that and congratulate the Ministry of TIAT and also the Minister for pushing this forward. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Minister Duran. If you have just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 15th, 2022. We now move on to the question and answer session. The floor is open, and Bibi Hot Shaw of SMN News, you have the floor.
Good morning, Relaika. Thank you. Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, ministers. My question is for the Minister of Romy. And Minister, thank you for just mentioning the basket of goods. If I remember clearly, that announcement was made in February. The release that was sent out this morning, while they said that the basket of goods has increased from 12 to 72, there is no date as to when exactly this would go into effect. So I would like to know, when exactly would this take place? When would the people see actual relief? And as I'm talking about relief, Minister, there's a situation since GEBE opened, and people are getting large bills. People are complaining about the fuel clause, and most importantly, it's about the people, you said, but GEBE just recently terminated the services of an employee, a mother of two. People at GEBE and management have been talking about victimization, yet they continue to victimize other people. My question, though, Minister, has the shareholder met with the SBOD to at least address the issues taking place at a government-owned company?
Well, that was a pretty loaded question with multiple points. I hope I didn't miss anyone. To start off with the basket of goods and the date, I had this discussion with the minister last week. I will have to follow up to know exactly and give you a more accurate answer, so that I will do that with the cabinet of TIAT, which I know they are tuned in now, so that will be done. With respect to the relief from GB, we are currently in a discussion with GEBE on the senior relief, providing senior relief. So that is taking place. Also, a general relief for the people of St. Martin. That discussion did take place within the Council of Ministers. So, of course, you know they have to run their numbers and see the most feasible way and how to apply it and when to apply it. With respect to the firing of the firing of staff, I must say that that is an operational matter. I'm sure you can remember a couple months ago when a similar situation took place where multiple persons were being laid off. With the support from the Council of Ministers, I sent a letter to the Supervisory Board of Directors asking them to, basically give some indication as to this. You have to be careful how you word it, because then you're saying you're meddling in operations and involving yourself with things that you don't supposed to be involved in. Nevertheless, as you mentioned, these are our people, the people of St. Martin, and I inquired on it. So we did have the discussion within the Council of Ministers. However, firing and hiring is something that takes place on a regular basis. And I believe that if somebody is being dealt with unjustly, and they take it whether to the court or however it's done and it's handled, we will address it. But it's pretty difficult, or I'll be putting myself in an awkward situation as a minister, as well as a government, to directly get involved in who's hired, why they're fired, and so forth. But it is not something that is totally being ignored, I can guarantee you that. And I still haven't received a response on the first letter that I sent. So in the follow-up letter that I will send, will include the extra point and seek clarity on it. And it's not something that I'm going to come back to the public and give the information, because, again, I would be acting unethical, and I'm sure you would understand.
Thank you, Minister Duran.
And I also wanted to, sorry. Okay. You mentioned about the high bills that came. I am sure if maybe you missed it, that I had a question hour last week in the House of Parliament where this was thoroughly explained. The members of Parliament had no more questions. GB representatives went out and gave an explanation as well. It's a glitch in the system, especially coming from that world. I know that those things can happen. And it's not about avoiding it happening, it's about the corrective measures that you take to correct the situation, which I believe that they have been doing. So I would urge the general public, if there's still any unclarity, any discrepancies, to follow up with GB as they would do normally. Because I've known situations where in the past, on a regular day, somebody received an erroneous bill, and those things are addressed. So it's not abnormal. What is abnormal is that it was closed for so long and it came out a sort of a shock. So that is the thing, that the reality that persons are dealing with. Well, like I also, while on the GB matter, I just want to mention that the streetlight repair and placement program started back officially last night. Just to give an indication, we start with the Point Blanche, Oyster Pond, Over the Bank, Guana Bay, Hope Estate, Sucker Garden, Madam Estate, Middle Region, Dutch Quarter, Defiance, Belvedere, Phillipsburg, and I mentioned Over the Bank and also Over the Pond. Those are this is Zone 1 that will get the first attention, and then we'll go to Zone 2 and Zone 3. And I'll keep the members of the media up to date as we progress, and also the general public. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Bibi. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. As we on the trail with GEB, ministers, the ministers have been accused very much of inconsistency. I would object using the direct word of the person, the ex-parliamentarian. But it did not sound so well, ministers. But just explain to the people when the minister comes in, because the ministers have been blamed for the problem in GEB. As I mentioned, I would not say word for word what the ex-parliamentarian said, but you all have been blamed for the problem in GB. Can you explain to the public when the minister comes in and any inconsistency in GEB?
I assume that you mean with respect to corporate governance and so forth, and the role that the ministers play in the whole setup. Okay. Of course, you know there's management, there's staff, and then there's over the management you have a supervisory board of directors. When I say management, I'm talking about the CFO, COO, and CEO. Right now, at the moment, for the last almost 2 years, there has been no permanent management in GB, and GB has been operated by a temporary manager. The Council of Ministers are the shareholder, the entire Council of Ministers, and when there's discrepancies, or also to approve the financial audits and the audited financials and so forth, you have shareholders meeting to appoint board members and to make certain far-reaching decisions. So that is the role that the Council of Ministers play. And as Minister of Rummy over the past couple of years, even going back to Island Territory days, you would have the Minister of Public Works that was the shareholder rep. That is no longer the case. However, as a council, we discuss whatever pressing matters there is. And if need be, I would then be mandated to handle certain things. But that's on a case-by-case basis. So I hope that clarifies your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you, Roleka. Good morning, ministers. Minister Duran, last year leading up to the reintroduction of Article 28A, you had 2 press releases sent out, and it stated that you had 60 days for review, and then the application would be published in the National Gazette for the public to have to be able to appeal during 6 weeks. how many of these applications or permits were granted? How many, where were they published? How many appeals did you get? And is it possible to receive a copy of the papers that you just showed?
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. As I mentioned, based on the article, now I'm assuming maybe you wrote the article, it was misleading because it is not consistent with the facts. These are publications from the National Gazette where you can clearly see on the 19th of March, one was published, on the 4th of March of this year as well, and also on the 18th of March. And I also mentioned 2 other dates, so that's just factual information that was published in the Gazette. So as a responsible journalist, I would just urge you to do the research prior to publication because it gives a false impression as if the staff are not doing their work. And if that is the case and it's not published, because I'll be honest with you, I don't go through every single thing that is published because of the day-to-day tasks, then staff would have to be reprimanded, which I inquired immediately, and this is the response that was provided. So I'm just simply urging for future reference that proper research is conducted. This is published in the Gazette, so I have no issue sending this digitally once it's requested.
Thank you, Minister Duran. I would now like to invite Ralph Cantav of Phillipsburg Broadcast. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. I have a question for the Prime Minister and the Minister of Roaming. By the way, Prime Minister, I would ask if possible the breakdown that you just read out, if that could be sent, because that was requested in writing several weeks ago and that was not provided to date. Nevertheless, my question relates to GB as well. And my question is, the government or the Council of Ministers aware of the fact that the temporary manager at GB signed a contract to allow his personal lawyer, who is also the lawyer of the internal auditor, to serve as a legal counsel on retainer? And is the Council of Ministers aware that $50,000 was paid to the lawyer, although the court declined the claim in the last court case late last year? Thank you. To answer all your questions that you summed up there, the answer is no. I'm not aware of any of those points, and I would also urge if you could just send that in writing so that we can inquire and find out if there's any irregularities there. One thing I must say, and this is because I'm totally unaware of the situation, nor am I supposed to be aware of the situation if this is the case, because the company has certain statutes in which they can operate, which, as I mentioned just now, maybe once it's a certain amount, the supervisory board of directors would have to approve a certain sum. I do remember in the past that there was a lawyer there on retainer where an excessive amount of funds was paid out. So I urge you to please send it in writing, and then we inquire from that standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Ralph. Stephen Cerulean of PJD2 Radio, you have the floor.
Good morning. Thank you, Ms. Roach.
Prime Minister Jacobs.
Yes, to address the question from Mr. Cantav regarding the documentation of what I just read out, I mentioned that the calculations were done. The Ministry of Finance provided that information to us just yesterday. It has to be handled in the Council of Ministers, and thereafter we'll be able to respond to your question. But I wanted to clarify that I'm not sure specifically what was stated in the press, but it is definitely not a deliberate act to not make the cuts as proposed, based on the fact that 2020 was a 6 months or a half year, and 2021 a full year. The change over to the amount that had to be done wasn't done. But indeed, had that been done, it would have cut much more than 25%. So the way the law is set up, and with the cuts that have been made, there is no, that we've paid less than we should have because we paid too much, or we cut more, 5.5% more in 2020, and based on not carrying over to the full year translation of the calculations, only 21 was done, but it can be balanced with the extra 5% that was paid in 2020. For 2022, we are not on par to pay out our 6%, and already the percentage, the 10% plus the representation costs and other costs that come off from our salaries is done. So up until now, we are already at the, say, 21% for 2022, and we will have to determine based on the 8.6% that has been seen as a cut in the personnel costs of political authorities since 2020, that should also be counted. And so we've surpassed the 25% every year thus far, if you do the, the checks and balance on it. So we're happy that the question came up, that we can actually check to see how it was applied on the operational level. But I just wanted clarity in that this does not become another sensation. This was one of the key points of the Kingdom decision, and I have had to defend that position more than once. And so that we take the time to go beyond that a decision is made and you trust that it's done the way it should be done. As Minister Doran said, checks and balances, the question raised caused the checks and balances, and so now we'll be able to, even if necessary, make the amendment to the law so that we're not cutting more than we're supposed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Stephen Cerulean, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister, Ministers. Good morning to you as well. In the absence of the Minister of TIAT, my question is directed at the Prime Minister and, if possible, the Minister of Romy. Can you provide some information in relation to the planned Phillipsburg beautification project, especially in the area of the vendors?
I don't have, you have that information? Okay. Minister Doran will take that question.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Cerulean. As we know, the marketplace has been an eyesore. I saw that the cabinet of TIAT published an article a couple of weeks ago regarding the repairs of the marketplace. It is something that, anybody that lives here can see it. What happens, and it's something that I say a lot, is that if you're used to seeing something, for some reason it becomes normal. And unfortunately, some of these things do become as the norm. As you pass by, you see it, and it's as if it's normal, which to me it's not normal. And I believe that based on your question, I will follow up again with the cabinet of the Minister of TIAT to inquire how they plan to move forward. I do not have the information regarding the agreement that they made with was a cruise line, right? It was an agreement that they mentioned with a cruise line. I do not have the details on that particular point, but what I do know is that in the last budget, it was a proposal from Parliament to amend I think it was almost 600,000-700,000 guilders to repair there, and they put it into road infrastructure, and that there would be an agreement with the port and one of the cruise lines to renovate and rebuild the entire marketplace. So those exact details I would inquire with the cabinet of TIAT and send it to you, have it sent to you in writing.
Thank you, Minister Doran. Prime Minister Jacobs. Okay, we now move on to the second round. Bibi Hasha, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. My question is for the Minister of Justice. Minister, last week, the Ministry of VSR sent out the CPS. They sent out the COVID stats. And if I remember clearly, I think there's 54 active cases with 5 hospitalized. I also got information that there are a number of cases, positive cases at the prison. Can you confirm whether or not there are cases at the prison, and if there is adequate spacing, cells, to be able to isolate the persons that, the prisoners that have tested positive?
Ms. Shah, I think if that was the case, that information would have been brought forward to me by the director of the prison. That has not been brought to my attention. As such, I would have to inquire if there's any truth to that and get back to you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, and thank you, Bibi. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Minister of Justice. Minister of Justice, is it normal for mental patient to be housed at the police station?
That is no longer a situation, and I think Ms. Shaw had brought some light to that discussion last week. The Mental Health Foundation in itself, and I will try to not go too deep into this particular discussion because there is some sensitivity there, but the Mental Health Foundation in itself had sought the support and still seeks the support of CAPSM when there are persons within our community that are exhibiting mental health issues due to their being the Mental Health Foundation's low capacity in terms of spacing. They have sought the assistance of the holding facilities at CAPSM. Yes? That in itself has evolved into, let's say, for example, the case with Mr. Thomas. The matter with Mr. Thomas unearthed certain things that we needed to address, and we have. So the act of assisting the Mental Health Foundation has placed not only police, but also even Harvey Bay in a very unpleasant space. And so the act is not done. It is a case that CAPSM assists as much as possible without taking any steps that can get them into any issues, but the support that was once rendered is not offered anymore.
Thank you, Minister Richardson. Thank you, Lyndon. Jacqueline, you now have the floor.
And a question to the Minister of Justice. Since the inception of the Victim Support Bureau, how many people have received victim support? What kind of support was that? And when victims like from the accident in Union Road, will the families also receive victim support?
Sadly to say, the board of the Victim Support Service was established, but the actual operation has not yet launched. So at this time, Victim Support Service has not rendered any type of official support, unfortunately.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, and thank you, Jacqueline. Ralph, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. So I just have a follow-up question based on the response that Minister Romy provided as it relates to the relief as it relates to the relief that GB will be providing. It is understood that GB has not been able to pay several suppliers in recent months. So considering the fact that the company already told people that they have until end of September to pay, and also considering the delay of fear people have of paying bills right now, also considering, at times like this, people will most likely pay school fees, insurances, and so forth. How will a company, have they communicated to you in terms of how will a company be able to stay afloat financially? And then finally, how many years did the CEO and COO receive for their contract? Thank you.
On the last question, just for clarification's sake, you're talking about the incoming? Yes. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, I believe, because what we did was a staggered approach with the contracts, contrary to what was done in the past. So one of the O's was 4 years, the other one 4.5 years, the other one 5 years, so that there's no point in time that everyone leaves at the same time. So for transitional purposes, in the event this may be necessary. With respect to the relief and the financials, it would be very hard for me to sit here and tell you how GB financials is in the sense of how they plan to calculate. As I mentioned, that we are waiting different ways and means on how it will be able to work, which I think is the same answer to the question that I responded to a while ago. And it all ties into basically of course, the company has to make sure that they can stay afloat and also see how much room they have for relief, and then see how they can apply that relief for residents and not commercial businesses. That was the discussion. So that I hope that answers the question. And I want to take this opportunity as well to not only highlight all the problems, so to speak, in GB, I've seen where, especially over these last couple of weeks, staff that are working 24/7 in the Sunday, on the Monday, in the Saturday, and all these different things. So I'd like to acknowledge that and also thank them for their dedicated commitment in order to serve us. I know sometimes the negative is much more highlighted and it overshadows the hard work, which can be demotivating as well for the staff. So I just want to acknowledge their hard work and thank them for all the efforts that they put in order to get us back to where we're at. Especially those in the finance department, those in the ICT department, those in the billing department, the meter readers. They have been going above and beyond their call of duty to make sure that we are at where we're at today. It was an unfortunate event, and I don't see it happening again in the foreseeable future because we have to learn from our mistakes. It's growing pains, just like if you go to the gym, the next day you'll be sore, but your muscles are growing. So I would like to thank them again. Also, thank you to the Supervisory Board of Directors for all the efforts they put in as well. And let me spread some positivity as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean. You have the final question.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My final question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, it has been reported that the Minister of TLT is to tender his resignation. If it is so, has there been any sort of discussion with the coalition partners?
Thank you for that question, Stephen. I toyed with the address this or don't address this because, as the minister just said, and it, follows up perfectly, it is unfortunate that someone's illness is used as a platform for political gain. I'm going to be straight up about that. It is very unfortunate. Sickness can come to one and all. And I mentioned last week that as a Council of Ministers, we are covering the responsibilities. Nothing is being dropped. I actually had some other things to mention and update about the basket of goods, etc., that came in while I'm here. But instead of giving that good news, here I am saying, please let us allow the gentleman the right and the privacy with his medical challenges. And as a government, we are doing in collaboration and cooperation with the minister, the coalition, and all involved to ensure that what it needs to be done can be done. This is not saying that anybody is being pushed out, forced out, or anything like that. And it's very unfortunate. It can be any one of us that is too ill to work, and we're looking at ways to resolve the problem. That is where we are today. And I would like that we do not continue to put this out there like it's something strange. Anywhere in the world, we had a CFO at the airport that was appointed by Schiphol, left because of medical issues. Did that make the news? Was that something to discuss? Why is it then that we have to shine this kind of a light on our own? It is very unfortunate, and it doesn't add to the convalescence either. So with that being said, when we have a solution, we will make the necessary announcements. Until then, the ministry is being carried by the Minister of VSA in his absence. And while the Minister of VSA is absent, I am carrying the portfolio. So right now, I'm the Minister of TIAT. And if I may, I was just updated via the SG and the Cabinet that the advice for the gas price adjustment is on its way. Whether it's by the Cabinet or by me while I'm here, it should be on its way to me, so hopefully that can be resolved soon. And then the other point that was brought up earlier on the basket of goods, there still needs to be some other adjustments made, but do know that the ministry and the Cabinet are hard at work with the support of the relevant ministers who are carrying the responsibility in the absence of the Minister of TIA to ensure that the necessary relief comes as quickly as possible. We all want to see this relief, but we cannot skip steps in the process that is necessary, whether it's legislation, whether it's proper checking and calculations, etc. So I ask your indulgence. Do know that behind the scenes, the ministries are working diligently. And the last announcement that I missed earlier, sorry that we're going a bit over time, Rolaika, is that the 17th of June is the last day for the deadline for the application of hurricane passes. Please, all those who require that, do not wait until past the date. Go to Hurricane Pass Request at stmartingov.org. And the rest of the information you should be able to find on stmartingov.org hurricane/hurricane. Thank you for the opportunity. Stay blessed and be safe.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further answers can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, June 15, 2022. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telem Tel TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and TV 15. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relaika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.